In 1985, a team of field biologists in the Sundarbans tracked a single Bengal tiger that had systematically bypassed traditional livestock to hunt human populations across a specific mangrove estuary. What they discovered wasn't a sick, desperate animal acting on broken instincts. It was a perfectly healthy apex predator executing a highly efficient caloric strategy. It had calculated that human infrastructure was the path of least resistance. Most people view predation as a simple binary, the hunter and the hunted. We look at a common house mouse catching a cricket and a 6-meter saltwater crocodile snapping its jaws on a water buffalo, and we group them into the same mental category. That is a mistake. The gap between the bottom and the top of this biological hierarchy is wider than most people realize. Same biological imperative, completely different realities. I already know someone in the comments is going to say that a predator's success should only be measured by its kill rate, pointing out that the African wild dog kills more frequently than a lion. We will get there, but frequency is not leverage. To understand how nature actually works, you have to look at the structural mechanics of energy acquisition. Level 1 is the micro-opportunist. This level is defined by high-frequency, low-leverage predation, where the energy expended per hunt almost equals the immediate caloric reward. Consider mus musculus, the common house mouse. While traditionally viewed strictly as prey, the mouse is a relentless predator of insects, larvae, and small invertebrates. A standard mouse requires roughly 4 to 5 grams. This level is occupied by the biological archetype of the perpetual hustle. The micro-opportunist possesses a psychology dictated entirely by immediate metabolic panic. They cannot afford to wait, plan, or strategize. Their internal furnace burns too hot. A shrew or a mouse tells itself nothing because it has no cognitive surplus. It is an organic machine processing small inputs to stay alive for another 12 hours. They operate in the shadows of larger ecosystems, taking zero calculated risks because any minor injury is a definitive death sentence. The survival mechanism here is sheer numbers and rapid reproduction, not individual dominance. The immediate metabolic benefit is real. The deeper long-term security is not. Level 2, where it actually begins. This is where true targeted predation actually begins. Level 2 is the specialized technician, represented by organisms like onychomas, the southern grasshopper mouse. Here, the metrics shift. We are no longer talking about an animal accidentally stepping on a beetle. The grasshopper mouse actively tracks, corners, and executes highly aggressive bark scorpions, completely ignoring the painful stings due to an evolved neurological immunity to the toxin. It targets specific, dangerous prey that other organisms at its size scale must actively avoid. The archetype shifts here from a frantic scavenger to a serious, intentional operator. The grasshopper mouse does not operate on panic. It operates on tactical execution. It handles highly toxic prey because the caloric payoff of a fat, fluid-rich scorpion justifies the metabolic investment of the hunt. Think of it like an industrial cost-benefit analysis. The predator runs the biological math for the first time, balancing the risk of venom against the reward of high-density protein. Evolution stares at the spreadsheet for a few millennia before quietly saying yes. What this level unlocks is niche insulation. By specializing in a difficult, specific target, these predators exit the crowded, chaotic baseline of the micro-opportunist and claim a repeatable, uncontested stream of calories. Level 3, serious infrastructure. This is where predation stops feeling like a workaround and starts operating as serious infrastructure. Level 3 is the environmental architect, best exemplified by the trapdoor spider, or the European badger. This is the structural sweet spot in nature. It is the tier where the majority of successful, mid-sized terrestrial carnivores settle and never move beyond because the return on investment is perfectly optimized. The archetype here belongs to the asset investor. These predators do not spend their days running through the woods hoping to bump into a meal. They construct physical infrastructure, be it a perfectly camouflaged, silk-hinged trapdoor or a highly complex underground network of hunting trenches. They have run the numbers and made a deliberate structural decision, not an emotional one. They invest heavy energy up front to build a permanent advantage. Functional transformation. It stops being an active, exhausting pursuit and starts being a passive asset harvesting operation. The badger engineers its environment, manipulating the soil and tracking pathways so that prey predictably stumbles into its operational zone. They tolerate the high cost of maintaining territory because the infrastructure guarantees a baseline survival rate that free-roaming hunters can only dream of. Level 4, where experience matches function. Below this level, organisms participate in predation purely for basic survival utility. At level 4, the apex pack component, the experience of coordinated execution itself has independent value. This level is defined by the gray wolf, Canis lupus, and the African wild dog, Lycaon pictus. A single wild dog weighing 25 kilograms cannot bring down a 200-kilogram zebra. However, an organized pack of 20 executes a fluid, multi-tiered endurance pursuit that yields an astonishing 80% success rate, higher than almost any solitary big cat on Earth. They use real-time acoustic communication, rotating lead runners to exhaust prey, and tactical flanking maneuvers. The archetype here has changed significantly from the solitary builder. These are corporate operations. To a wolf or a wild dog, the pack is infrastructure. It is not a luxury or a social indulgence. They share food based on roles, protect injured assets, and pass down learned hunting routes through generations. The hunt is an exercise in resource management, energy conservation, and collective pressure. From here, the numbers start separating the local opportunistic hunters from the regional macro managers. Level 5, where limits disappear. The defining feature of Level 5, the solitary elite, is the total elimination of a fundamental constraint, the requirement for a safety net or a collective unit. This level belongs to the Bengal tiger, Panthera tigris, and the grizzly bear, Ursus arctos horribilis. A male Bengal tiger can weigh up to 300 kilograms and possesses a bite force of over 1,000 pounds per square inch. It operates entirely alone in dense, unforgiving terrain. For the tiger, the concept of a territorial boundary or physical opposition from another species does not exist as a practical constraint. It hunts gaurs, massive wild cattle weighing over a ton, by executing precise, solitary ambush maneuvers that require absolute physical perfection. The solitary elite navigates the wilderness the way most people walk through their own homes, with total situational ownership. They do not look over their shoulders. They do not hide their kills out of fear of peers. They hide them merely to prevent nuisance scavengers from wasting their time. Everything above this level is a choice made for reasons that go far beyond basic caloric survival. Level 6, beyond function, into identity. At level 6, the ecosystem anchor, predation is no longer just about the metabolic function of killing prey. It is about defining the physical state of the entire ecosystem. This is the domain of the orca, or Sinus orca. Orcas do not just hunt, they choose cultures. Different pods specialize exclusively in distinct prey profiles. One pod in the Pacific Northwest will target salmon using acoustic echolocation, completely ignoring a harbor seal swimming meters away. Meanwhile, a transient pod miles away will systematically hunt great white sharks just to extract and consume their fat-rich livers, using specialized tail slaps to create paralyzing pressure waves. The archetype here is no longer accessible by simple biological metrics. These are self-aware geopolitical blocks of the ocean. The distinction between level 5 and level 6 is not raw physical capability. It is identity and historical legacy. A level 5 tiger hunts what is available within its physical limits. A level 6 orca hunts based on a transgenerational choice. They pass down specific dialects, highly specialized hunting techniques, and cultural preferences that dictate what they choose to dominate. Level 5 will never be enough for the level 6 predator, because a solitary apex predator is still bound by its immediate geography. An orcapod shapes the evolutionary trajectory of the oceans. Evil 7. Power, not product. This isn't predation. This is planetary architecture with a predatory function. Level 7 is the apex, embodied by Crocodilus porosus, the saltwater crocodile. The saltwater crocodile does not participate in the local ecosystem. It outlasts it. Growing up to 6 meters in length and weighing over 1,000 kilograms, it possesses a bite force of 3,700 pounds per square inch. It has survived the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event, the Ice Ages, and the rise of mammals without fundamentally changing its design for 240 million years. Real-world examples at this level are institutional and historical, not commercial or seasonal. The saltwater crocodile treats continents as its territory, swimming hundreds of miles across open oceans to colonize new island chains. They are not commercial products buying a temporary spot at the top of the food chain. They are the permanent physical boundaries of the natural world. When a saltwater crocodile drags a water buffalo into the water, it is not an athletic contest. It is a thermodynamic law asserting itself. When you zoom out and look at the entire 7-level hierarchy, from the house mouse tracking a cricket in a dark wall cavity to the saltwater crocodile waiting at the river's edge, you realize this entire journey was actually about one underlying resource. It was never about the violence, the teeth, or the claws. It was about the control of time and energy. The house mouse and the saltwater crocodile are both doing the exact same thing. One is buying 12 hours of frantic existence by consuming a high-frequency stream of small insects. The other is buying months of total, motionless dominance by consuming a single macro asset. One is buying survival by the minute. The other has purchased security across geological epochs. Every other biological category sells an organism a specific adaptation to fit into an environment. Predation sells them the leverage to dictate how that environment operates. If this analysis was useful, subscribe. I break down how systems actually work, not how the nature brochures describe them. See you in the next one.